There's a moment in life when you begin to understand that some things cannot be rushed, that certain experiences, certain people are meant to arrive not when you demand them, but when the universe, or however you choose to call it, decides the time is right. For as long as I can remember, I have believed in the quiet, almost invisible power of prayer. Not the kind of prayer that's about wishful thinking or simple luck, but the kind that carries intention, discipline, and faith. It's a conversation with life itself, a dialogue where you place your hopes, your desires, and your fears into a space larger than yourself, trusting that what you ask for will find a way to arrive in your reality. And in that belief, I found patience. I found hope. I found a compass that guided me through uncertainty and through moments where it felt like the waiting would never end. It's not just about saying words into the void. It's about shaping your mind and your heart to align with the life you aspire to create. When I prayed for the woman I would one day share my life with, I didn't imagine someone perfect in the shallow sense of the word. I imagined someone whose presence would challenge me to be better, someone whose energy would complement mine, someone who could stand steadfast in both joy and struggle. And while the idea of her was always vivid in my mind, I knew that envisioning alone was not enough. Prayer, in its purest form, is a practice of patience and preparation. You pray not only for the arrival of what you desire, but for the readiness of yourself to welcome it. You sculpt your character, you nurture your resilience, and you grow into the person capable of recognizing the answer when it finally appears. Hope, in this sense, is not passive. It is active. It is the engine that propels you forward, even when circumstances seem stagnant. Every day, life presents tests, moments that make you question whether your prayers will ever be answered. And yet, in those moments, hope whispers a subtle but unwavering truth. Timing is everything. The right person, the person you have been waiting for, will not arrive according to your timetable, but according to the alignment of countless factors, seen and unseen, that converge in a single moment that feels almost impossible until it happens. It is in this trust, this surrender to timing, that the power of prayer reveals itself most profoundly. I've learned that praying for something so deeply personal is not merely about the object of your prayer. It is about refining your understanding of love, commitment, and purpose. Each day I held onto the vision of the woman I longed to meet. I was also discovering what it meant to be the kind of man who could honor her presence. I learned to value kindness over convenience, patience over impatience, and faith over fear. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the universe begins to respond. Not always in the way you expect, not always in ways that are obvious, but in ways that build a foundation strong enough to support the reality you've been dreaming of. There's a quiet confidence that comes from this journey, a deep and abiding trust that what is meant for you will arrive, and that when it does, it will feel inevitable. The power of prayer and hope is not magic. It is alignment, it is preparation, and it is unwavering belief in something greater than yourself. When you cultivate this kind of faith, you stop chasing life and start creating it, and the life you once imagined in fragments begins to assemble into something tangible, something real. And so I waited not with desperation, not with doubt, but with a conviction that the woman I prayed for all my life was out there, becoming real in the same way I was becoming ready. Every challenge, every triumph, every quiet moment of reflection was a part of that journey, and I carried with me the understanding that the answers to the deepest prayers often come wrapped in patience, perseverance, and time. Because when that moment finally arrives, you don't just see her. You recognize her. And you know that everything you have believed, everything you have hoped for, was leading to this singular truth. The moment you realize that what you prayed for all your life has finally arrived, you understand that hope is never wasted, patience is never in vain, and faith, above all, always finds a way. When I thought about the woman I had been praying for all my life, it wasn't just about finding someone to fill a space beside me. It was about discovering someone whose presence would enhance every dimension of life, not by changing who I am, but by reflecting the best parts of me back in ways I hadn't imagined. I didn't dream of perfection in a shallow sense. I dreamed of authenticity. I imagined someone whose heart was anchored in kindness, whose actions were guided by integrity, and whose mind was curious and fearless. The qualities I envisioned were not just traits to admire. They were the pillars of a life partnership that could withstand the tests of time, the unexpected challenges, and the inevitable turbulence that life throws at anyone daring enough to pursue something extraordinary. The first quality I imagined was depth. Not the kind of depth that requires complicated explanations or intellectual posturing, but a quiet, profound understanding of life, its fragility, and its beauty. Someone who could see beyond surface appearances, someone who could navigate complexity with grace, someone whose soul resonated with empathy and compassion. I envisioned a woman who could hold a conversation about ideas that challenge the mind, but also embrace the poetry of simple, everyday moments. The kind of depth that invites trust because it radiates authenticity, and trust, I have learned, is the foundation upon which all meaningful connections are built. I also envision resilience, the kind that is not loud or performative, but steadfast. Life is unpredictable, and the journey toward building something lasting is never linear. I imagined her facing challenges with courage, turning setbacks into lessons, and approaching uncertainty not with fear, but with a willingness to learn, adapt, and grow. Her resilience would not only inspire me, but also challenge me to rise to a standard higher than comfort, to push boundaries, and to embrace possibility even when the odds seem stacked against us. Resilience is magnetic. It draws people together, and it strengthens bonds in ways that superficial attraction never could. Another quality I sought was curiosity, not just about the world, but about life itself, about people, and about me. The kind of curiosity that fuels conversation, exploration, and discovery. I imagined someone who would question assumptions, seek understanding, and challenge the familiar in ways that spark growth. A mind that is engaged, alive, and fearless in its pursuit of knowledge, and a heart that is open to change, even when it is uncomfortable. Curiosity is the engine of innovation, and in a partnership, it becomes the fuel that keeps both people evolving, learning, and discovering each other in ways that never grow stale. I envisioned integrity, too, the unwavering kind that doesn't bend under pressure or compromise core values. Integrity in her words, in her actions, in her commitments. Someone who is honest, dependable, and accountable, who communicates with transparency, and who honors not only promises to others, but promises to herself. Integrity is magnetic because it creates certainty, and certainty in a relationship is not about predictability. It's about knowing that, at the foundation, there is alignment in principle, purpose, and character. And finally, I imagine a woman whose heart is generous, not just in gestures or gifts, but in spirit. Someone whose compassion extends naturally to those around her. Someone whose presence uplifts, encourages, and inspires. Generosity of heart creates a ripple effect in life, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary ones, and creating a space where love, trust, and partnership can flourish without fear or hesitation. These were not just qualities I longed to find, they were qualities that shaped my own evolution. I realized that by praying for a woman like this, I was also committing to becoming the man who could walk beside her, learn from her, and grow with her. The vision of her was not a checklist. It was a blueprint for a life of shared purpose, mutual respect, and unshakable partnership. When I think about the woman I prayed for, I see more than a person. I see a constellation of virtues, a presence that will challenge me, inspire me, and complete a picture that I had only imagined in fragments. And in that imagining, I discovered something profound. The qualities you seek in someone else are often the qualities you cultivate in yourself, because love is never just received. It is built, nurtured, and lived every day. The woman I prayed for was never just a dream. She was a vision that guided me, sharpened me, and prepared me for the life we would one day share, a vision that reminded me that the right person does not simply fill a life, they illuminate it. The journey of waiting is never easy, and faith is never passive. There were moments when the days felt long, when hope seemed fragile, and when it was tempting to question whether the woman I had prayed for all my life would ever arrive. Waiting is not simply about marking time. It is a test, a crucible in which character is refined, patience is strengthened, and the clarity of what truly matters is revealed. Every challenge, every detour, Every disappointment became part of a larger design I could not yet see. And in that waiting, I learned something profound. Faith is not about certainty. It is about perseverance, about holding a vision in your heart, even when the world offers no immediate evidence that it will come to pass. I realized early on that the waiting itself was an essential part of the process. It is tempting in life to rush, to force outcomes, to grasp at solutions before they are ready to exist. But the truth is, timing matters in ways that logic cannot always predict. The universe, or whatever mechanism of alignment we choose to believe in, has a rhythm, and the right person, the person you are destined to meet, often arrives when you are most prepared to truly appreciate them, not just superficially, but deeply, at the level of mind, heart, and soul. During the waiting, I focused on becoming the man who could recognize and honor the woman I was praying for. I worked on myself, I challenged myself, and I cultivated patience as if it were a skill as essential as any other. Waiting is not passive, but it is deeply active. It demands reflection, introspection, and growth. It is a period in which you confront your own weaknesses, examine your own patterns, and refine your understanding of what it means to love and be loved. I learned to embrace solitude as a teacher, to treat each disappointment as a lesson, and to measure progress not by the arrival of what I wanted, but by the evolution of who I was becoming. There is a strange beauty in this process, a subtle joy in knowing that every step, no matter how small or painful, was preparing me for something extraordinary. Faith became my compass. It was not a blind faith, but a deliberate one, rooted in a conviction that what is meant for you will find its way, even when the path is not clear. Along the way, I encountered moments of doubt, moments when the heart feels heavy and the mind questions everything. I learned that faith is not the absence of doubt, it is the choice to move forward in spite of it. Every time I chose patience over frustration, hope over despair, I strengthened the foundation upon which the relationship I longed for could one day rest. The waiting taught me resilience, not just resilience for myself, but resilience for the partnership that was yet to be formed. I realized that love, when it arrives, is not merely about connection, it is about the readiness to meet it with clarity, integrity, and wholehearted presence. There were also moments of unexpected beauty during this period. Encounters that seemed ordinary at the time revealed lessons that became invaluable later. Experiences that felt like setbacks were, in truth, shaping the framework of understanding and empathy that would be essential in sharing life with the woman I prayed for. Waiting is a paradox. It feels slow when you are in it, yet in retrospect, it is accelerating your preparation for the life you are meant to live. Every challenge, every pause, every period of uncertainty contributed to the creation of a man capable of recognizing the answer when it finally appeared. Faith, ultimately, is a commitment to trust in the invisible, to embrace uncertainty with the confidence that alignment will come. It is a choice to focus not solely on the outcome, but on the journey, the growth, the lessons, and the transformation that occurs along the way. And when the moment arrives, when the prayers you have nurtured for years manifest in reality, you understand that the waiting was never wasted. It was not a delay, it was preparation. The journey of waiting and faith teaches a truth that is undeniable. The right person does not appear in your life by chance. They arrive as a consequence of growth, intention, and the persistent courage to hope, even when the world seems to suggest otherwise. And when that person finally steps into your life, every second of the wait suddenly makes perfect sense. There comes a moment in life when the waiting, the hoping, the patient preparation all converge into a single, unmistakable clarity. It's not flashy or dramatic, at least not in the way movies portray these moments. It's quieter, subtler, almost like the universe is pausing to exhale, allowing you to recognize something you've been longing for without even realizing you were ready to see it. Meeting the woman I had prayed for all my life was like that, an alignment of countless unseen factors, a convergence of timing, character, and purpose. The moment did not feel forced, it felt inevitable, as though every choice, every struggle, every lesson I had absorbed along the way had been a guide leading to her. Recognition does not require proof, it requires resonance, a feeling deep in your chest that tells you, without words, that this is the person you have been preparing for, and who has been preparing for you. I remember the first time it truly struck me. It wasn't an epiphany as much as a gentle certainty, a quiet awareness that this was no ordinary encounter. There was an alignment of values, of energy, that transcended superficial attraction. Every word she spoke, every gesture, every glance seemed to echo the qualities I had envisioned, the virtues I had prayed for, and the resonance of it was profound. Recognition is not about ticking boxes or fulfilling a wish list. It's about encountering someone whose presence completes a picture you've only seen in fragments, someone whose energy interacts with yours in ways that feel simultaneously familiar and exhilarating. It is both discovery and homecoming, the simultaneous realization that you have found what you were searching for, and that this discovery has always been quietly forming in the background of your life. There is a subtle intelligence in recognition, a kind of alignment that cannot be manufactured. It manifests in shared values, in laughter that feels effortless, in challenges met together with a mutual understanding that each obstacle is smaller when faced as a unit. I noticed in her not only the qualities I had prayed for, kindness, depth, integrity, curiosity, resilience, but also the unanticipated qualities that made her uniquely her, the way her perspective illuminated blind spots I hadn't seen, the calm decisiveness she carried, the empathy that extended beyond words into actions. Recognition is the acknowledgement that the ideal is not an abstract concept, but a living, breathing reality, a presence that reshapes your understanding of connection and possibility. And yet, recognition is not passive. It requires awareness, a willingness to see beyond initial impressions, to sense the deeper layers of character and spirit. It is a process as much as it is a moment. There is a knowing that grows over time, a confirmation in shared experiences, in challenges overcome together, in the small, everyday decisions that reveal integrity, patience, and love. Recognition is a dialogue between intuition and observation, between hope and reality, a realization that the person you have prayed for is not only who you imagined, but also someone who surpasses expectation in ways that your imagination could not have fully anticipated. I learned that meeting the one is as much about timing as it is about alignment. The recognition is not instantaneous. It is a series of confirmations, moments when the heart and mind quietly agree that this is the person with whom the journey makes sense. It is a recognition that invites humility, gratitude, and reverence for the complexity of life's orchestration. When you meet the one, you see the combination of preparation, growth, and faith reflected in a presence that is at once electrifying and grounding. It is a realization that love, when authentic, is not merely an emotion. It is an awakening to the possibilities of life itself, to the synergy of two paths, converging in a way that transforms both. In that moment, I understood something simple but profound. You do not just find the person you prayed for. You recognize them because every choice you made, every challenge you faced, every lesson learned has led to this encounter. Recognition is not about searching harder or trying longer. It is about being ready, about cultivating the patience, awareness, and growth necessary to fully embrace what has been prepared for you. When you meet the one, you understand that the waiting, the hoping, the prayers, they were never wasted. They were the architecture of a life designed to recognize its other half. The woman I prayed for all my life did not appear by accident. I recognized her because every part of me had been shaped to understand the gravity and beauty of her presence, and in that recognition, I realized that some things, once truly found, feel like they've been with you all along. Meeting the woman I had prayed for all my life didn't just change the trajectory of my personal life. It fundamentally reshaped how I experienced the world. It's one thing to imagine a partner, to dream about shared values, laughter, and support, but it's entirely another to live it, to feel the ripple effect of that presence in every dimension of your life. Her impact was subtle at first, like a quiet hum of energy that shifted the rhythm of my days, but over time it became undeniable. She brought clarity to confusion, calm to chaos, and a perspective that challenged me to grow in ways I hadn't anticipated. To meet the person you've prayed for is to realize that life itself can become richer, more vibrant, and more purposeful simply because someone else is walking beside you with the same vision, integrity, and dedication. Her presence taught me lessons that no book, no mentor, no experience could have fully imparted. There is a kind of transformative power in being seen and understood by someone who resonates with your core. Someone who doesn't just tolerate your ambitions and flaws, but actively engages with them in a way that elevates both of you. I noticed how her confidence inspired mine, how her resilience reinforced my own, and how her ability to balance compassion with decisiveness challenged me to rethink my approach to both personal and professional life. She reminded me that influence is not about control, but about alignment, about the way two people can synchronize their energies and amplify what each is capable of achieving. In her presence, I discovered not just companionship, but partnership in its most profound sense, the kind that expands your potential simply by existing in the same space with you. Her impact went beyond emotional support. It extended into action, into choices, into the way I approached challenges and opportunities. I began to see decision-making differently, not just in terms of efficiency or outcome, but in terms of shared vision and values. I learned to appreciate patience, to weigh the long term over the immediate, to balance ambition with empathy. In subtle ways, she reshaped the architecture of my priorities. Every plan I made, every goal I pursued, was tempered by the understanding that life is more than individual achievement. It is shared progress, mutual growth, and the cultivation of a life that feels aligned, purposeful, and meaningful. There is a profound ripple effect when the right person enters your life. It is not merely about happiness or comfort. It is about transformation. Her presence challenged me to confront my own assumptions, my limitations, and my vulnerabilities. She inspired me to cultivate the best version of myself, not for her, but for the life we could build together. And in doing so, she reflected the highest potential within me, illuminating areas I had overlooked, strengths I had underestimated, and aspirations I had not fully realized. This is the power of the right partnership. It doesn't just complement you, it elevates you, stretches, and it redefines the possibilities of your own existence. Her influence is woven into the everyday, into moments of quiet reflection, shared laughter, and mutual support. It is in the way she challenges me to think differently, the way she encourages me to act with integrity, the way she inspires me to embrace both the joy and responsibility of life with clarity and purpose. The woman I prayed for has taught me that impact is measured not just in grand gestures, but in consistent alignment, in the quiet shaping of one life by another, in the deepening of character, resilience, and vision that can only occur when two people are truly attuned to one another. The reality is that love, in its most authentic form, transforms everything. It reshapes priorities, amplifies potential, and imbues even ordinary moments with extraordinary meaning. Her presence did not just fill my life, it expanded it, enhanced it, and gave me a framework to become more thoughtful, intentional, and capable than I had ever been alone. Every day is a reminder that the woman I prayed for was not only the answer to a question I had long held, but the catalyst for a life more vibrant, purposeful, and extraordinary than I could have imagined. And in this, I understand a truth that is profound and undeniable. The right person does not just enter your life, they awaken it. Gratitude is one of those things that feels simple in concept, but profound in practice. It is easy to take the people and experiences in our lives for granted, to assume that the moments of connection, love, and inspiration are inevitable. But when I reflect on the woman I prayed for all my life, I am confronted with the extraordinary reality that nothing about her arrival was guaranteed. Every lesson I learned, every challenge I faced, every step I took along the journey of waiting and preparation led to this point, and for that I am deeply grateful. Gratitude, in this sense, is not a fleeting emotion. It is a lens through which life can be fully appreciated, a recognition that what we often seek with longing is not just a presence, but a gift that transforms us from the inside out. I am grateful for her presence, not simply because of what she brings to my life in terms of love or companionship, though those are profound in themselves. I am grateful because she challenges me to think differently, to act more intentionally, and to embrace the possibilities of life with courage and clarity. Her influence has reshaped my understanding of patience, humility, and vision. It has reminded me that the journey toward meaningful connection is as important as the connection itself. Gratitude in this context becomes a reflection, conscious acknowledgement of every twist, turn, and seeming obstacle that eventually guided me to the life-altering moment when our paths intersected. It is a recognition that the universe, or the invisible forces that shape our lives, has a rhythm, and that when we are aligned with it, we are capable of extraordinary outcomes. But gratitude alone is not enough. It must be paired with action, with intention, and with inspiration. Meeting the woman I prayed for all my life has not just inspired me to become a better version of myself. It has inspired me to share that inspiration with others, to carry forward the lessons of hope, patience, and faith that guided me to her. I have learned that the true measure of love is not in what it takes from us, but in how it enables us to give back, to lift others, to create value, and to contribute to a world that is better because we have been present in it. Inspiration, in this sense, flows naturally from gratitude. When we recognize the extraordinary gift in our lives, we are compelled to act, to innovate, and to live in a way that honors the journey and the presence of those who make it meaningful. I have also learned that expressing gratitude is transformative in itself. By acknowledging the impact of her presence, by valuing every shared moment and every lesson learned along the way, I cultivate a mindset that attracts even more alignment, joy, and purpose. Gratitude amplifies perspective. It turns ordinary experiences into extraordinary ones. It reminds us that love is not just about emotion. It is about awareness, reflection, and conscious appreciation of the forces that brought us to this point. The woman I prayed for all my life has not only been an answer to prayer, but a daily reminder of the power of faith, patience, and intentional living. There is a ripple effect to living in gratitude and inspiration. It shapes the way you approach challenges, the way you interact with others, and the way you envision the future. It reminds you that every connection, every experience, and every lesson has purpose. When I think about her, I am reminded that life rewards those who remain patient, who nurture hope, and who cultivate the capacity to recognize and embrace opportunity when it arrives. Inspiration grows from this alignment, fueling ambition, resilience, and the courage to pursue goals that once seemed unattainable. Ultimately, gratitude and inspiration are inseparable from the journey of love itself. They transform prayer into practice, hope into action, and longing into fulfillment. They are the forces that allow us to see not just the person we prayed for, but the larger design of life that orchestrated the meeting, and they compel us to live with intentionality, generosity, and courage. I am grateful, endlessly grateful, for her presence, for her impact, and for the way she has awakened in me a deeper understanding of love, purpose, and possibility. And in that understanding, I realize this: the person you pray for all your life is not just an answer to a wish. They are a catalyst, a teacher, and a reminder that hope, patience, and faith are never wasted.